George locked a toy figurine inside a cabinet, but when he opened it again, the tiny figure had come to life. Curious, George reached out to touch him, but the little figure stayed alert, holding a small dagger to protect himself. George quickly explained that he was the owner and would never hurt him. After hearing him out, the little figure finally lowered his guard. When George showed his kindness again, the tiny figure jumped straight into his palm. George then took out a toy tent and gave it to him as a home. Unexpectedly, the little figure disliked the plastic, saying it contained harmful chemicals. George suddenly had an idea. He placed the tent back into the cabinet and opened it again. This time, the tent had transformed into a leather one. The little figure finally had a real home. The two soon became close friends, and George named him Teddy. Excited to make even more friends, George stuffed several other toy figures into the cabinet that night. But when he opened it again, he was shocked. Darth Vader was fighting, a dinosaur was running wild, and RoboCop was clashing with soldiers. Startled by the chaos, George quickly shut the cabinet. When he opened it again, everything had returned to normal. The next day, Teddy woke George up, complaining that the tent was too small and uncomfortable. He wanted to go outside and build a large villa. So George took Teddy into the yard and let him choose a piece of land. But while George went back inside to grab some tools, Teddy was nearly carried off by a chicken. Panicking, George rushed over, put Teddy back into the box, and brought him inside. Unfortunately, Teddy was still hurt in the process. Suddenly, George thought of something. He took a medic figurine from the toy box and placed it into the cabinet. When he opened it again, the medic had come to life. George immediately placed him in front of Teddy to help him. Using a magnifying glass, the boy carefully observed and realized the medic was extremely skilled. Before long, Teddy's injury was taken care of. Relieved, George was happy to have made another new friend and named him Corgi. However, Corgi said he wanted to return to his original world because this place did not belong to him. George agreed without hesitation. With the cabinet opening and closing once more, Corgi instantly turned back into a figurine. To prevent Teddy from being hurt by the outside world again, the two decided to build a large house. Teddy said he needed tools for cutting materials, so George placed his armored warrior toy into the cabinet. The moment it came to life, George quickly took the axe from its hands. Before the warrior could react, it returned to being a toy again. With proper tools, Teddy quickly built the framework of the house. When George came home from school, he saw that Teddy had completed a perfect home all by himself. But after thinking carefully, George felt the house still needed a father figure. Unexpectedly, the old man toy was too fragile. When he saw the giant outside, he was so frightened that he collapsed on the spot. George felt deeply guilty about what happened. He carefully buried the figure in the garden. Only then did he truly realize that this magical cabinet could bring wonderful surprises, but it could also cause consequences that could never be undone.